All right, my friends, we are here at Audioholics Live 2025 in the MoFi room with the legendary Andrew Jones. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasalo with Audioholics. How you doing, Andrew? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, yes, but I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. So I've never heard a MoFi speaker, really. I know it's bad. They've been around for a while. They've been
I'm
around.
letting him interview me.
Let me tell you, I was only going to do a YouTube short on the system, but the fact is I came in here today listening, and you put on a song that I was going to request. You read my mind. He's got ESP. I was so impressed with the sound of this room that I wanted to do a full video. I think it's some of the best sound I've heard at the show, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you.
Run me down what is in this speaker, the drivers, the technology, the concentrics, and then I want to ask you a couple of questions.
So this is the kind of culmination of the SourcePoint series. I started at MoFi 4 years ago, and the first introduction was the SourcePoint 10. And the idea was to go back to old school, big cabinets, big woofers, and within that was my brief. What do I do with that? Well, big woofers, could I do a big concentric driver? So I can go back to two-way, and that's what I developed. But when you're looking at what materials do I use for the cone, when you get up to 10-inch, that has to go up to the mid-range. And you look at all these exotic materials, they can't reach the mid-range in that kind of material. And I looked around.
Because they're too heavy?
They're heavy, when they break up violently, and at that size, you can't keep the breakup modes high enough outside of the crossover point. If you were doing a compression driver where you could cross over 800 hertz, maybe, but I wasn't. I was going to do a soft dome tweeter. So I looked at and tried different materials. Paper worked best. So I tooled up, I make my own cone, my own surrounds, develop all new magnet structures for the combination of driving the tweeter gap and the woofer gap. So we released that, followed it with an 8-inch version, which basically I just cut down the cone and put in a smaller chassis. So we now have two stand mount speakers. So last year we developed or introduced the 888. So that was a tower speaker using the 8-inch concentric and two new 8-inch bass drivers. And I'm using principles similar to what I did at TAD. I wanted a short coil, long gap, so underhung. Much more linear than a regular long coil and short gap. But I use a structure using opposing magnets to get the flux more evenly driven. But that means building it with pre-magnetized neo discs that are 48 millimeters diameter. So not easy to build. And we called it 888 because it's an 8-inch concentric with two 8-inch bass drivers. As I developed it, I thought I might as well be developing the 10-inch version and see how it goes. And because the cabinet is just so big.
I actually thought it was a 12-inch driver because of the cabinet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we waited until we released the 888 before we released the 10-inch. And so that's now 10-inch concentric, two 10-inch bass drivers with the same linear motor structure, and two 10-inch passives on the back. So it becomes the V10 because there's 5 10-inch things.
And what's the price on these?
$8K a pair. One
thing I have to tell you guys, $8K a pair in this day and age, it's a lot of money, but this is a lot of speaker that I was hearing. You had good output in here. I mean, I think you were clipping the amps before the speakers were giving out.
Oh, yes.
Way
easily
before
with
that.
these, yes.
I was sitting in the back row, I'm like, where's the subwoofer? Because I was thinking maybe Andrew Jones is playing a fast one on me but you're not like that. Actually, we talked about this, and his design philosophy is to make speakers that have bass, even bookshelf entry-level speakers, because most people that are starting out with a system with a bookshelf, it's hard to integrate a subwoofer, right?
Yes.
So you might lose some sensitivity in the design, but you gain bass extension, so you get people more full-range sound.
How often are you going to miss bass? All the time.
Yeah.
How much are you going to miss sensitivity and playing really loud? Occasionally. So that's always the balance I make. Give up some sensitivity and get as good bass extension as I can.
Here's the thing too, these are still 91 dB sensitive, right?
Yes.
So that's pretty
6
high.
ohms.
6 ohms. Now 6 ohms, let's talk about this, because a lot of manufacturers, when they make tower speakers and they tell you it's an 8 ohm speaker, I go and measure them and they dip down in the 4 ohm, 3.5 ohm range. They don't follow the IEC standard from 300 hertz to 3 kilohertz. It can't drop more than 80% of its nominal rating.
Exactly.
We actually have an article that you helped co-author on my site probably 12 years ago. So when you say these are 6 ohms, what's the impedance minimum?
It is 4.3, 4.4. So I'm technically slightly
right there.
below the 4.8. So mea culpa on that one. But
You're right there.
and we also made it flat.
Oh, okay.
So it's you can drive it from higher impedance amplifiers and not affect the tonality of the speaker.
Awesome. We listened to Francine 13, Queen Mary in here, and it really filled the room with sound. You heard good spatiality. I actually was hearing center dialogue vocal. I wasn't even in the money seat. I was 1 seat over, and I was still getting a stable center image from these speakers, so the imaging was great. Bass was tight. You didn't do any EQ, right? You just got lucky. This is a good room.
Look,
It has nothing to do with the design of the speaker. Well, Andrew, I appreciate this, guys. I'm going to be checking out some more MoFi products this year. I'm really impressed with these speakers. We got to get them in for review. If you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.
Thank you.